As a channel primarily focused on Xbox and Xbox Series X, I want to take a look if it's worth buying the Xbox Series X for those upgrading from an Xbox One, One S or One X, or maybe you're primarily a PlayStation gamer looking to upgrade to an Xbox Series X from a PS4 over a PS5. Or maybe you game on PC primarily and want to see if it's worth jumping over to the console side. I'll take a look at what makes the console worth owning. This part of the video is about why you should buy one, whilst part 2 will deal with why you might want to hold off buying one. Well, even if they were available to buy. So this is about the best things about the console if you're on the fence about a purchase. But if you liked the video, then please hit the thumbs up, share it, subscribe, and leave a comment telling me what you like and don't like about the console. Check the description for a link to the Discord to talk everything Xbox and gaming. But now, let's review Microsoft's latest and most powerful console. So let's start with the good at number 10, and it's the design itself. Now the console could really look like anything and people would buy it, but what we have is a more matte-like finish on the Series X, which is in contrast to the shinier original Xbox One with its VCR glossy look. And whilst being quite large and boxy in size, even with the size, it doesn't intrude too much on the room or the space in a TV cabinet. And after having it since launch day, I actually really like the look and design of it. And it's good to see following on from the excellent One X and One S designs. At the top, we have the grille for airflow, so it's important not to block it as you decide to have it sitting either horizontally or vertically. And my preference is that it's definitely much slicker when standing upright. In terms of weight, this is quite a heavy piece of equipment and also has a solid look, and it gives it this more premium feel with everything being firmly put together, so there's no creaks or anything when it comes to the plastic. So on the back of the unit we have the power socket, 2 USB ports, an expansion card port, Ethernet adapter and the HDMI out. So there's no HDMI in like the Xbox One had. Now if you're using the disk drive, then you will hear the discs spinning. Not overly noisy, but you will notice it, especially in a quiet room. But if you're all digital like myself, then this thing is almost whisper quiet, with only being able to hear it when actually putting my ear to it. And that's even when playing games. It's super impressive. And number 9 is the user interface. And where many feel this is more of a negative for the Series X, I don't see it like that at all. If you're wanting a new experience when compared to last gen Xbox consoles, then you will be disappointed, as Microsoft have chosen to basically use the same dashboard from before. So if you're used to navigating around the One X or One S for example, then you'll have no problems on the Series X. Moving between screens and launching games isn't an issue, but some settings are perhaps a few too many clicks away, and the deeper you go into the options, it doesn't look as visually appealing when compared to the top layers of the UI. But Microsoft does continually improve and push updates out, whether that be to improve security or add new features, which I'll talk about later on. The Xbox Series X UI is perfectly serviceable for what you need to do with it, and considering that the absolutely vast majority of your time will be actually playing games, then there really isn't a hell of a lot here to either overly impress you or make you disappointed. It also performs much snappier now, thanks to the improved hardware and the SSD drive. And the Series X will boot much quicker than even the One X as well, which is great. For number 8, we have accessories, and I decided to make this the category instead of just talking about the controller, as there are several other things you can use with the console that should be mentioned. But the Xbox Series X controller is a refined version of the already excellent Xbox One controller, so don't expect too many major differences. The Series X controller can now be charged via the much better USB-C connector instead of that micro USB from last gen. The D-pad has been improved somewhat, although it still isn't amazing in any way. A share button has been added for those who like taking screenshots and videos, and overall there is a size difference between this controller and that of last gen, but I found both felt comfortable in my hands. But this will of course differ from person to person, based really on how big or small your hands are. A good addition to the Series X controller is that of the small amount of grip which has been added to the trigger buttons, as well as the back of the controller, which happens to resemble one of the excellent features of the more premium and expensive Xbox Elite controller, which is what I use day to day. But your older Xbox One controllers will also work with the Series X no problem, so you don't need to go out and buy a bunch of new controllers if you're upgrading from last gen. Plus, Microsoft has also released the adaptive controller to help those who may have difficulty using a standard controller, and which is an excellent addition from Microsoft. Plus, you have the latest Xbox wireless headset as well for those who are after more of a premium sound, but for a more budget price. And at number 7, we have the storage options, as game sizes are becoming larger and in some circumstances just downright bloated. So the Xbox Series X comes with 1 terabyte of internal fast SSD storage, and of that you have around 800 gigabytes which can actually be used to store games. So this is going to fill up quite quickly based upon which games you play and how many you do. For those optimized for Series X and S and which come with 4K texture packs, then these are going to take up more space on the SSD, and the majority of Series X and S enhanced games do need to run from that internal drive, unless you fork out for the 1 terabyte expansion card, which will then increase the storage and which will allow you to run enhanced games from it as well. These are quite expensive, so many gamers won't want to fork out for them. So fortunately, you will be able to plug in any USB 3 external drive in order to store games on, and this can be used to run Xbox One and backwards compatible games from it too. No need to put them on the internal or the expansion card, and this will save you needing to re-download them again as well. So if you already have an external drive hooked up to your Xbox One, One S or One X, then you can simply bring it across to the Series X and plug it in, easy as. For number 6 is the new feature of Quick Resume, which is one of those features which isn't a requirement of a new system, but now that we have it, I wouldn't want to go back to how it was with the Xbox 360. If you turn the console off, then you would need to restart your game when you turned it back on. For the Xbox One, you could turn your system off, and when turning it back on, you could pick up where you left off in the game. And now the Series X and S take it to the next level. Not only can you back out of a game or turn the console off, you can actually have multiple games all be running at the same time and be able to quickly switch between them all at will. Once you do this, the game you were playing is simply suspended and the new game loads up exactly where you left off. So switching between games will usually take between 5 to 10 seconds, and it's a fantastic feature, and it's putting that fast SSD storage to good use. The only caveat of this is some games don't allow quick resume based upon some factors, or if it's an online game where you will become kicked out of the game and return to the menu. But a large amount of games do use the feature, and it's a definite time saver for someone like myself when capturing footage for these videos. Coming in at number 5 are cloud saves and smart delivery, and I found these can go hand in hand so far. So Xbox has had cloud saves for a long time now, and I use them extensively on the Xbox 360. You could have your save games reside on the internal storage, but then they would sync to the cloud, so you had a backup should something happen to your local file or your console. And this could manually be looked at as well. But now it's even better on the Xbox Series X, and is so important if upgrading from any of the last generation of Xbox consoles. So you've set up your Xbox Series X and you've downloaded some games or put a game disc in and loaded it up. The console will then automatically sync any save games associated with the game, and it just makes upgrading to the new gen so much easier. And then we get to smart delivery. Perhaps you were playing a game on last gen but which also has a next gen enhanced Xbox Series X or S update. You can easily download the updated game, usually complete with much better graphics and performance, which will take advantage of the new hardware. And even though they are two separate versions of the same game and you played it on a last gen system, the Series X will make sure you have the correct version of the game, plus sync all of your saves. Download it, load it up, and that's all you need to do. It's so easy. For number 4, and which will lead into another item on the list, is the price. And many are probably asking why this is here, as the Series X is a damn expensive console, retailing at $749 here in Australia and $499 in the US. So yeah, it's a premium console for those gamers who are wanting the best out there. But the console itself is giving you a hell of a lot for that money, and there's no way you could build an equivalent machine in the PC space if you were to source all of the parts yourself and build it yourself. You may come close, but you would still lack how well all of the Series X hardware and software is integrated with each other to get the most out of it. Plus, in terms of price, Microsoft has also made various deals around the globe with different partners in order to get these consoles into the hands of eager gamers so you can have one of these systems in your home without the large upfront payment, and instead go on a monthly payment plan, which is a great option to have, and the more options gamers do have, the better. It isn't a cheap console, that's for sure, but it's more accessible in terms of price than generations past. And for number 3 is the sheer power of the box itself, as really this is the main reason anyone upgrades to the next gen right away, to get graphics and performance which just wasn't possible on last gen. But the Xbox Series X and this generation come packing quite possibly the greatest leap we've seen. So the Xbox One X could run games at 4K or a dynamic resolution, and it could look amazing, but now we have the huge leap in performance that I've always wanted, and it's running almost all games, even at this early stage in the generation, at 60 frames a second and all the way up to 120, and this is just fantastic. But we've seen an almost complete scarcity of next gen only games, but the power of the console is making the last gen games play so much better. Then we have all of the future performance that the box comes packing, such as the full complement of RDNA 2 features, machine learning, and how developers will increasingly become more and more comfortable with working with the machine. But in the here and now, the increase in power isn't just about teraflops, it's about the power of being able to be seen on screen, and it already is with the higher resolutions, high quality assets, and high frame rates all on display. For number 2, well, this was hard between this and number 1, as they could have taken out either spot. But here, it's about Game Pass and how Microsoft has basically changed the gaming landscape and what gamers should expect to see from this generation of gaming, and also how we both consume and purchase our games. Game Pass is absolutely chock full of quality games to play that cross a number of genres. This isn't a service based upon filler like some want you to think. There are dozens and dozens of fantastic games to play and experience, some of which are Xbox Series X and S enhanced as well. With new games constantly being added each month as others leave the service, there is always something new to check out. Plus, we are also starting to see third-party releases come to the service on launch day, such as Outriders or MLB The Show. On top of that, we have first-party Xbox exclusives which will also launch here, such as the next Halo, Forza, Gears, or the games from Bethesda Game Studios and all of the other first-party developers. There aren't a lot at the moment on the service, but the true value of the subscription will be seen as the year progresses, and even more. Game Pass is exceptional. And my number 1 reason to buy a Series X is for its backwards compatibility features. And granted, the Xbox One could play the backwards compatible games as well, but it's taken up several notches on the Series X due to the increased power and just what it can do. Playing older Xbox One or Xbox 360 games complete with auto HDR is simply just incredible to experience, taking our older games and making them even better from a visual standpoint. Then we have the additions of frames per second boost, which is only on a handful of games so far, but in addition to auto HDR, it's taking these backwards compatible games and doubling their performance to 60 frames and beyond, which is breathing new life into these games and making them perform as if playing on a very capable PC. Playing games from the original Xbox, Xbox 360 and Xbox One, plus all of the Xbox Series X and S enhanced games, just provides so much value when it comes to whether you should upgrade to this generation of consoles. When we take backwards compatibility as a whole and then include the feature of quick resume, for example, we are literally swapping between multiple generations within seconds. And then when you add that Game Pass is full of backwards compatible games, when buying an Xbox Series X, you have a huge library of Xbox, Xbox 360 and Xbox One games ready to go at a low monthly fee. Even when this gen is coming to a close, I and many gamers will be so used to having backwards compatibility that I doubt we will ever see another console generation that doesn't have it, preserving older games, and Microsoft has done a great job with this. Now we just need more and more games added. So there are my top reasons to upgrade from the One S or One X, or even an Xbox 360 or PlayStation console to the Xbox Series X. In the next part, I'll be discussing what needs to be fixed and improved for the console, as it isn't perfect and maybe it isn't worth upgrading to for some people out there. But if you liked the video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share it, and leave a comment letting me know what you like most about the console and what you don't like. Check the description for a link to the Discord to talk everything Xbox and gaming, and I'll see you on the next video.